Hi everybody, so in this video I'll walk you through how to use Beyond Labs in order to access the experiment. In the introduction video I mentioned that you would need to use this link over here in order to enroll for the class. What I want to say is that this enrollment code is different than the activation code. So if you purchased from the library Beyond Labs subscription, you're going to get an activation code. It's different than the enrollment code in here. We also mentioned that we're going to use this icon just one time in order to register for the course and provide the enrollment code. So I'm just going to go over this again because I've got some questions about it. So all what you need to do is just press on this icon, and when you press on this icon, because I am enrolled, I'm just going to get this page over here. Now in your case, you're going to see a lot of experiments over here. These are not your experiments by any chance, as I mentioned earlier. We're going to use this site just to enroll for the class. What you're going to see is your sections. So you're going to see your labs for the summer for both sections, and there you're going to see only your section. So all what you need to do is just hit on your section and hit to join a group in there. Once you hit join a group, you would need to insert the code. And as I mentioned earlier, the code is listed over here. Just copy paste it, and this is the one and the only time I want you to use this website. This Beyond Lab website. I don't want you to use this website anymore. So in order to access the labs, what you need to do is just you're going to access the Beyond Labs from every single experiment folder. So let's say an example over here. So for example, for experiment number 1, okay? So for experiment number 1 in there, let's see. This is the Beyond Labs experiment. So all what you need to do is just go ahead and press on this experiment. And once you press on this experiment, it's just going to go ahead and guide you to the experiment in there. I'll go ahead and put the teacher's view there because of the due date. There you go. So every single experiment should have a pre-lab question. All these questions are free answer questions. So this means that when you submit your answer, the system will not grade it. I need to grade it, and I would grade all of these labs after the due date, possibly on Tuesday, and I'll post the grades on either Tuesday night or Wednesday morning. Every question you can submit the answer for it 4 times, so you have 4 trials for every question in there. But as I mentioned, the system will not tell you if your answer is right or wrong. So I believe like submitting your answer one time is more than enough. But if you want to change your answer, you can go ahead and change your answer in there. Every single question does have a submit button, so you have to submit your answer so that it is in the system. And there, if you leave a question that is not submitted, I would not be able to see your answer, so it will be graded as a 0. This is for the pre-lab. Same thing applies for the questions within the experiment. Now, once you go into the experiment, this is the procedure of the experiment, and this is your actual experiment over here. Normally, what we would do is we would open this experiment in a separate window. So let's go ahead and open that in a separate window. And I would like to open this in a separate window and then put the experiment. So we're going to go ahead and put both the experiment. I'm just going to take it out like this and put them side by side. This will make it easy. Okay, this will make it easy. I would make the procedure smaller than the actual experiment. So this is the actual experiment window in there. So in the experiment window, what you're going to see are these icons. So you have your procedure, and this is why I did put it side by side so that I won't go back and forth. It's not convenient to go back and forth. It's more convenient to read and then do the experiment in there. You do have a stock room, and this is the materials that you would need to use based, guys, on the procedure. You have to read the procedure. You are not making up a procedure. The procedure is written for you, and it's gonna tell you exactly what to use. So here it's telling you drag the plastic ball. We have here a list of series of balls in there, and every ball has a name. So you can find your plastic ball in here. So in the first procedure, it wants you to weigh your plastic ball. So please go ahead and weigh that plastic ball in there. So you're going to grab that plastic ball and put it on a balance. You're going to weigh it, and then you are going to record that over here. If they are asking you to weigh any other type of material, then you go ahead and you search for that material and you weigh it. I posted another video for this lab, so you can go ahead and look at that video, and it walks you through the process of measuring the volume and so forth in there. Now, whenever you are working with this lab, there is something which is called a lab book in there, and for the lab book, it simply records the steps that you do. There are multiple icons over here that you would need to be familiar with. So for example, the live data. So if you are measuring the volume of the cylinder, you would need to look to the live data in there, and you would need to read the volume of the solution. So you can see that you have a solution in here. You can simply look at the live data and read the volume. You can save the images, and as you save the images, those images will appear in your lab book. So I can track your work in there. Also, if you hit your lab book, once you go ahead and you weigh your sample in there, you can simply take a save lab image. So you can take an image of your lab. So here you go. So you can take an image. Let's do a lab save image in there. Give it some time. Yeah, you don't want to save it multiple times as I did over here, because I clicked it multiple times, but this is going to be the lab image in there. So if you measure the mass of your bowl, let's say for example, you can go ahead and save that and put it in your lab book so that I can view your work. I can see your work. Your lab book is a trace of what you actually did. So every time you do a step, go ahead and click this icon, save lab image in your lab book, so that I can go ahead and go back to it and I can view it. In case you did a mistake when I'm grading the labs, I will go through the steps and I will let you know that you did this mistake. So please redo the lab again. Um, that will make it easier for me to grade this lab. Every time you are finished from a step, go ahead and save the lab in there. Guys, these labs, you don't have to finish them in one sitting. So if you have your lab book and you have the steps in your lab book in there, if you want to if you want to leave the lab and then come back to it again, go ahead and hit save lab, and everything will be saved. If you did a mistake, you can go ahead and clear the lab. Once you clear the lab, FYI, you clear your data, but you do not clear any of the images that you have taken. So I would not suggest that you clear the lab at all in there, but you normally would need to do this if you did a mistake and you want to repeat the lab. But all the old images, it will save them in there. But you can go ahead and put a note for me to ignore all these images and then start with the new images that you are going to upload in your lab book in there. Okay. Now, in case there are any unknowns in the procedure, it will tell you over here. So in the procedure, go to the unknowns and choose the unknown. So you can go in here and choose the unknown. So let's go back, and yeah, here you go. And so as I mentioned earlier, this is a step by step. So I would really suggest that you read the experiment in there. And once you read the experiment, you can go ahead and answer the questions. So once you do every single question that you answer, you're gonna submit that question. And as I mentioned earlier, it's not gonna tell you if it's right or wrong. I need to grade it, and then I'll go ahead and post the grades. Guys, if your grade is low in a certain lab, I would go ahead and email you individually and ask you to redo the lab, and I'll show you where your mistake is. Okay, so that you will go ahead and you fix that mistake. So you will submit every question in there. In this experiment, there are two procedures. So the first procedure, you are going to use the plastic bowl. The second one, you are going to use ethanol as a solvent. So you're not allowed to use water as a solvent. Please stick to the procedure, and then you're going to put your sample name. Guys, your sample name is going to be ethanol. So if you used ethanol, then your sample name is going to be ethanol. You're going to measure the volume of this ethanol, the mass of the beaker, and then mass the fluid in the beaker in there. So just to stick to the procedure. Answer every question and submit. And here you go. If you scroll all the way down, the last question in there, if you hit submit for the last question, this means that you are submitting your whole lab. So if you don't want to submit your lab and you want some extra time before the deadline, don't hit submit for the last question until you are done submitting every single question in the lab. Another thing that I want to say is that there are certain questions in there. So these question answer questions, you can refer to the supporting information in order to find the answers for these questions for every single experiment. Okay, so this is everything that I wanted to say regarding the how to use Beyond Labs for the experiments. There are certain experiments where there's a full Beyond Lab video where it shows you a demonstration of a step-by-step on how to work the experiment. For the first experiment, and there is an introduction video. This is kind of like a general video on how to work experiment number one. So please go ahead and watch this video as well before you start the first experiment.